Before we start, let me tell you about a man named Arian. He was 24 years old. He had studied English since he was in the fourth grade. That's more than 15 years of grammar books, 15 years of vocabulary tests, 15 years of watching movies with subtitles, 15 years of reading textbooks that said things like, the cat sat on the mat. She goes to the market every Sunday. 15 years. And Arian was good, like actually good. He could read a newspaper in English. He could write a professional email without mistakes. He could watch a documentary and understand every word, but he could not speak. Not comfortably, not naturally, not freely. The moment someone looked him in the eye and asked a question in English, something happened in his brain, like a switch flipped. And suddenly he was back in the fourth grade, sweating, searching, translating, panicking. His mouth would open, a strange half word would come out, and then silence. He described it once to a friend like this. It's like I'm standing in a room full of all the words I've ever learned, and I need one specific word. And I'm running around this room looking for it. And every second that passes, I feel more stupid. And the more stupid I feel, the harder it is to find anything at all. Does that sound familiar? If it does, stay with us, because this episode is about that room and the trick to stop running in it, and why, after all these years, you're not bad at English. You're just using the wrong door.
Can I ask you something weird?
Yeah, what happened?
Okay, so I was thinking about this last night, and I couldn't sleep because of it. Like it kept going around in my head.
What was it?
So you know that feeling. When you know what you want to say, like you know the idea, you know the words, you know the meaning. But the moment you open your mouth, it's just gone.
Oh, yeah, that feeling. I know that feeling very well.
And it's not like you forgot the words, they're still in there somewhere. It's like they're behind a wall.
Like there's glass between you and them.
Yes, glass, and you can see them, but you can't reach them.
That happens to me even now sometimes, like in moments where I'm tired or stressed or I feel like someone is judging me. And then suddenly things I've said 1,000 times just aren't there.
Why does that happen though? Like what is actually happening in the brain?
I think, and I'm not a scientist, so bear with me here. I think it's because we're still running a translation process. Like our brain hasn't fully switched to English. It's still doing this thing where it receives the question in English, then translates it to our first language to understand it, then thinks of the answer in our first language, then tries to translate the answer back to English. And by that point, the moment has passed.
That's like 4 steps.
4 steps at least, and a real English thinker is doing 1 step. They hear the question, the answer comes, done.
So the goal is to collapse all those steps into one.
Exactly, cut out the middle, go direct.
Okay, but how? Like that sounds simple when you say it, but how do you actually do it?
Okay, so I've thought about this a lot, and I think the first thing is you have to spend time inside the language, not studying it, being inside it.
What does being inside it mean?
Like, imagine you move to a new country. You don't know anyone who speaks your language. Everything around you is in English, signs, TV, conversations, your coworkers, your neighbors, the radio in the supermarket.
Total immersion.
Total immersion. And in that situation, something happens very fast. Your brain goes, okay, this is survival. I need to figure this out. And it adapts fast.
Because there's no option.
Because there's no option. The translation detour becomes too slow. So your brain finds a shortcut.
The shortcut is thinking directly in English.
The shortcut is thinking directly in English. And you can create that environment even if you don't move countries.
How?
You change what surrounds you. Like, what language is your phone in?
My language.
Change it to English.
Okay.
What language do you watch shows in?
Usually my language. Sometimes English with subtitles in my language.
Start watching with English subtitles. Or no subtitles.
That's terrifying.
For the first week. And then your brain adjusts. Because it has to.
Because there's no option.
Right? You create a small version of moving countries. In your own home.
I like that. My home becomes a tiny English country.
Hup, a tiny English country. And your brain slowly stops looking for the translation door because you've kind of locked it
And then the direct door starts opening more naturally.
more naturally, more quickly, with less effort.
Okay, this makes sense, but I feel like there's another layer to this problem that isn't just about the language. Like, even when I know the words, I don't say them.
Fear.
Fear? Yes. Like, I get scared, and when I get scared, my brain, I don't know what happens. It's like it just shuts down.
The fear response is real, like biologically real. When you're scared, your body goes into a kind of emergency mode, and language is not an emergency priority. So it shuts down non essential functions, and apparently, speaking a second language is considered non essential.
Ha! My brain decides talking is not important enough to protect.
Your ancient brain is like, this is not about surviving a tiger, so I'm not helping you.
I'm not being chased by a tiger, Jake. I'm just trying to ask for directions.
Ha! Your ancient brain does not understand the difference.
So, how do you turn the fear off?
I don't think you turn it off. I think you redirect it. Like, fear is energy, and you can use that energy to run away, or you can use it to push forward.
Convert the fear.
Convert the fear. Like, instead of, oh no, I might make a mistake, you go, okay, I'm a little nervous, which means this matters to me, which means I care, which means I'll pay attention to and do my best.
The nervousness is a sign of caring.
Exactly. Nervousness and excitement feel almost identical in the body. The difference is mostly what story you tell about it.
I'm nervous versus I'm excited.
And one of those opens you up, the other one closes you down.
Okay, so choose the excited story
Choose the excited story, even if it feels a little fake at first,
until it becomes real.
until it becomes the default.
I'm going to try that. Next time I feel that freeze coming, I'm going to tell myself I'm excited,
And then just talk, even if it's imperfect,
even if it's imperfect.
especially if it's imperfect. The embarrassing stories.
Okay, can I tell you something embarrassing?
Please, yes, go.
Okay, so there are two. I'll give you both.
I love this.
First one. A few months ago, my colleague from Ireland, super friendly, always chatting. He walked past me in the hallway and said, "All right," like just casual. "All right."
And you said?
I said, "Yes, thank you." Very formally, like I was answering a doctor.
Ha!
And he looked at me a little confused and walked away. And then I went to Google and found out that, all right, in British and Irish English is just a greeting. It means, how are you? You don't actually answer it properly. You just go, yeah, all right, or not bad, or something casual.
Oh no!
I answered a greeting like a medical question.
Yes, my health is satisfactory. Thank you for your concern.
Ha, basically. And then I spent the rest of the day cringing.
The classic informal greeting trap.
And nobody tells you this. Grammar books don't say, by the way, in Ireland, this word means hello.
This is exactly why real exposure matters more than textbooks. Because textbooks teach you the official language. But people speak 100 different unofficial languages.
Slang, idioms, regional expressions.
Things that only make sense if you've heard them in context, not in a list.
Okay, second embarrassing story.
Yes.
This one still hurts.
Oh no.
So I was in a meeting. Important meeting. Lots of people. My manager was there. And someone asked me to give a quick update on my project. And I had prepared. I had actually prepared what to say. I was ready.
Okay, good start.
And then I started talking. And it was going okay. And then I blanked on one word. One word. I can't even remember which word now. But in that moment, it felt like the most important word in the history of human communication. And I stopped. Just stopped. And then instead of saying any of the other 20 words that could have worked in that sentence, I said, and I quote, the thing for the results.
The thing for the results.
The thing for the results in a professional meeting in front of my manager.
Oh, Sarah.
I know.
What happened?
Someone just nodded and moved on, mercifully, but I thought about it for 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
3 weeks. It lived in my head rent-free.
Okay, but here's what I want to say about that.
Please say something that makes me feel better.
Nobody else thought about it for 3 weeks.
You think?
I guarantee it. Your manager moved on to the next agenda item and forgot about it before you left the room. The only person who kept that moment alive was you.
Yeah.
We are always the main character of our own embarrassment. But everyone else is the main character of their own story. They're not in your embarrassment movie. They're in their own.
That's actually really helpful.
Other people have their own blanked words, their own the thing for the results moments. They understand. They've been there.
They've all been there.
Every single person in that room has frozen in a meeting at some point
And then tortured themselves for weeks about it.
and then tortured themselves. Yes.
We're all just walking around carrying our personal cringe compilations.
Ha. Yes. And we're all the only ones watching our own compilation.
Okay, that genuinely made me feel better.
Good. Now tell me a funny one.
Ha, okay. Okay, this one is funny. Not embarrassing, just funny. I was trying to describe to someone that I was really hungry, and I wanted to use an idiom because I just learned some. And I said, I'm so hungry I could eat a horse.
That's a real expression.
I know. And they got it. They laughed and said, me too. And I felt so good. Like I'd done it. I'd used an idiom correctly in a real conversation.
That's a win.
It was a win. And then 2 days later, I used the same idiom with a different person. And I was so confident. And I said, I'm so hungry I could eat a cow.
Ha.
I said cow, not horse, cow.
Technically more realistic,
It is more realistic. Cows are bigger.
but unfortunately not the expression.
Not the expression at all. And the person just looked at me and said, a cow?
And you.
And I said, yes, a very big cow.
Stop.
I committed to it. I didn't know what else to do.
A very big cow. I love this.
And they laughed, and I laughed, and honestly, it was fine. It was a good moment. But I learned 2 things that day.
What 2 things?
1, get the idiom exactly right before you use it.
Smart.
2, if you get it wrong, commit, just roll with it. Because laughing together is better than dying inside.
That's actually great advice. Roll with it.
The conversation survived my cow. It was fine.
The conversation survived your cow. New podcast name.
Ha! The conversation survived my cow, an English learning podcast.
I would listen to that.
Ha! The thinking part.
Okay, so I want to get into something a little deeper, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course.
I want to talk about the mental side of language, because I think people focus a lot on the practical stuff. Vocabulary, grammar, pronunciation, and those things matter. But I think the mental game is actually the bigger obstacle for most people.
What do you mean by the mental game?
Like, what you believe about yourself as a speaker, like what story you have about your English. Because I've seen people with very strong grammar who are almost unable to speak because they're so in their own head. And I've seen people with quite limited vocabulary who are completely fluent and natural because they're relaxed and present.
So the belief shapes the ability.
The belief shapes the output. Like if you believe you're bad at English, you'll look for evidence of that. Every mistake becomes confirmation. Every success gets ignored.
Confirmation bias.
Exactly. Your brain finds what it's looking for. If it's looking for failure, it will find failure everywhere, even when you're actually doing really well.
So you have to change what your brain is looking for.
You have to give your brain a new instruction. Instead of look for all the ways I'm failing, try and notice all the ways this is working.
And then it finds those instead.
And then it finds those instead. Because they're there. They've always been there. You were just not looking.
I think I've been running the wrong program for a long time.
A lot of people are, and it's not your fault. It usually comes from somewhere. A teacher who made you feel stupid, a parent who said your English wasn't good enough, a bad experience that you attached a big meaning to.
And then you carry that.
And then you carry that into every English conversation for years. And that old experience is quietly running in the background, saying, careful, this is dangerous. You might embarrass yourself again.
Like a very unhelpful background app.
A very unhelpful background app that you forgot was even running.
And it's draining your battery.
Ha, it really is.
So how do you uninstall it?
Slowly. You can't just delete it, but you can create new programs that slowly replace it.
New experiences that tell a different story.
New evidence that says, I can do this. I did it just now. And the time before, and the time before that.
Building a new case file.
Building a new case file. Every small success is evidence. Every conversation that went okay, every word you found, every laugh you shared in English, every email you sent, every podcast you understood.
Like this one.
Like this one, you've understood this whole conversation. That's real evidence.
I have understood the whole conversation.
And your brain has been working in English this whole time without you forcing it.
Because I was curious. I was interested. I forgot to be scared.
Exactly. Curiosity beats fear.
Curiosity beats fear. I want to embroider that on a pillow.
Ha!
A really nice pillow.
Sell them. You'd make a fortune.
Curiosity beats fear, an English learning pillow.
I would buy that. Going deeper. The language in your head,
Okay, can we talk about internal monologue?
yes, this is one of my favorite things.
Because I feel like this is really where the difference is made. Not what you say out loud, but what you're saying inside your head all day.
100%. Because your internal monologue is like constant practice that nobody sees. Like you're always talking to yourself inside your head in some language. And whatever language that is, that's the language you're training every day,
And for most of us, it's our first language.
completely. Because that's where the thinking feels most natural, most comfortable,
But if you could shift even some of that to English,
even 30%.
just 30%.
You're suddenly doing hours of English practice every single day without sitting down to study, without opening a book, without doing anything special, just going through your day with a slight shift in what language your thoughts are in.
That's kind of mind blowing when you think about it.
It is. Because we walk around thinking that practice means sitting down with a textbook for an hour. But actually, your brain is going all the time, all day. And you can make that time count
So, how do you start shifting the internal monologue?
very small. Don't try to switch everything at once. You'll just frustrate yourself. Start with simple observations. You're in the car. You think, I'm going to work. The traffic is slow today. I hope it doesn't rain. Very simple things.
Like beginner sentences?
Like beginner sentences, but real beginner sentences, not textbook ones. Your actual thoughts, just in English,
And then gradually more?
gradually more. One day you're narrating your commute. The next you're processing your feelings in English. The next you're planning your week in English. And you don't even notice the shift happened.
Because it was so gradual.
Because it was so gradual, the language sneaks in.
I love that image. The language sneaks in.
Sneaks into all the little spaces, the morning routine, the lunch break, the moments before sleep, little pockets of English that nobody sees but your brain.
And your brain counts it all.
Your brain counts every second.
Okay, so label your world. Shift your internal monologue. What are the other switches you can flip?
Dreams. If you can start dreaming in English,
How do you control that?
you can't fully control it, but you can influence it. Like if the last thing you do before sleep is think in English, process the day in English, your brain is more likely to continue in English when you sleep.
Is that real? Like, is that actually a thing?
I think there's something to it. Like I started having English dreams around the time I started listening to English podcasts before bed and falling asleep while thinking in English. I don't know the science, but anecdotally, it seemed to matter.
And dreaming in English is a sign that the language is really in there.
Really deep in there, not surface level, truly integrated.
I've had that happen once or twice. Like I woke up and I thought, wait, was that in English?
And it's a cool feeling.
It's a really cool feeling. Like your brain did it without you asking.
Your brain just went, we're doing English now. This is ours.
This is ours. I want my brain to say that about English.
Keep going, and it will.
How long does it take?
It depends on how much you immerse, how consistently. For some people, a few months. For others, years. But there's no set timeline.
That can feel discouraging.
I know, but I think of it differently. Like I'm not running to a finish line. I'm just walking in a direction, and I'll keep walking. And every day I'm somewhere new, further than I was.
And the walking itself is the thing.
The walking itself is actually nice once you stop stressing about the destination.
I think that's the hardest switch. Trusting the process when you can't see the end.
The hardest switch by far. Because we live in such an instant world now. We want progress we can see. We want the graph going up. And language doesn't always give you that.
It's messy. It's uneven.
Very messy. Very uneven. Good days, bad days. Days when you feel like you've lost everything you worked for.
And then a day when it all clicks.
And you can't even explain why that day was different.
Your brain just caught up to something
Your brain caught up, overnight, quietly, while you were sleeping.
while it was dreaming in English.
Ha! While it was dreaming in English. The vocabulary mystery.
Okay, I want to spend a minute on vocabulary because I think this is where a lot of people get confused.
What do you mean confused?
Like, there's this idea that you need to know thousands of words to be fluent. And people study word lists. They make flashcards. They download apps. And they study and they study. And then in a real conversation, they can barely remember anything.
The vocabulary blackout.
The vocabulary blackout is real, and I don't understand why it happens.
I think it's because of how the words were stored. Like when you memorize a word from a list, like it gets stored in a specific part of your brain, a kind of shallow part. It's accessible if you're in study mode, but not very accessible when you're in conversation mode.
Because conversation mode is different.
Conversation mode is fast, emotional, social, unpredictable, and the shallow storage can't keep up.
So, how do you store words deeply?
Experience, emotion, context. Like the words you know best are the words you've felt
The word heartbroken, I know that word so well
because you felt it.
because I've felt it in that language, in that context, when someone used it about something I was going through.
And now that word is deep. It's connected to a feeling, to a memory, to a moment. So when you need it, it comes immediately.
And the word approximately, which I've memorized 100 times,
Not connected to any feeling.
not connected to anything, just a word on a page.
And it's accessible when you're doing a grammar exercise. But in a real conversation,
It's not there.
it's not there. So the lesson is learn words in context. Learn them in stories, in songs, in conversations, in moments that mean something, and they'll stick.
And which words should you focus on first?
The words you actually need for your actual life, not lists of random vocabulary. Like, what do you talk about most in English? What topics come up in your work? Your social life, the things you're interested in.
For me, it's work stuff, conversations about current events, a little bit of tech, food, travel.
So focus on those words deeply. Don't try to know every word in the dictionary. Know the words of your life,
The vocabulary of your actual world.
your actual world. And within that, a small number of words covers a huge amount of ground. Like the 500 most common English words cover something like 70 or 80% of everyday speech.
500 words for 70 to 80%.
It's actually not that much. It feels overwhelming, but it's not.
And if you know those words well, really well, deeply, quickly,
You can handle most situations,
and then you add more over time,
and you add more over time, slowly, from real experience,
not from a list.
not from a list.
Okay, learn words from life. Connect them to feelings. Focus on the vocabulary of your actual world. That's very different from what I've been doing.
It's very different from what most people are doing, and I think that's why so many people have a lot of English knowledge but struggle to use it
The knowledge is there, but it's stored in the wrong place,
in the wrong format, in the wrong containers.
in the shallow containers,
And the goal is to move it into the deep containers
through experience and emotion.
through living the language instead of just studying it, the human side.
I want to talk about something that I don't hear people talk about enough: the loneliness of learning a language.
Oh, yeah, that's real.
Like, there's this in between stage where you're not good enough in the new language to fully express yourself, but you've been away from your first language enough that it also feels distant sometimes, like you're stuck in the middle of two worlds.
The language limbo.
The language limbo. And it can feel really isolating. Like you have all these thoughts and feelings and you can't quite get them out in either language the way you want to.
I think that's one of the most underrated struggles of being multilingual. Like, people see the ability to speak multiple languages as this gift, and it is. But they don't see the cost.
The cost of the in between.
The cost of never feeling fully at home in either language, at least for a while.
Does it get better?
I think it does. I think at some point the new language becomes a home too. Not replacing the old one, but becoming a second home.
Two homes.
Two homes. And you can move between them. And each one gives you something the other can't.
That's actually a beautiful way to think about it. Two homes.
And your first language doesn't lose anything. You're not abandoning it. You're just building something new alongside it.
I think I've been afraid of that. Like, I'm afraid that if I get really good at English, I'll lose something. Some part of who I am.
I understand that fear completely, but I don't think it works that way. I think adding a language adds a version of yourself. It doesn't erase anything.
You just become more.
You just become more like the same person with a wider range.
More tools, more connections, more worlds.
More worlds. Yeah. I genuinely believe that every language you speak is another dimension you can live in.
Another dimension? Like literally seeing the world differently because you have the words for it in a new way.
There are concepts in some languages that have no translation, feelings that only exist in one language because only that culture found a word for them.
Like higa in Danish.
Exactly. Or saudade in Portuguese.
I love that word. Saudade. It means like a melancholy longing for something you love that is gone.
See? You couldn't say that in one word in English.
You'd need a whole sentence.
And the fact that Portuguese has one word for it means people who speak Portuguese can feel that feeling more precisely, more quickly, with less translation needed.
Because the word is a container for the feeling.
The word is a container, and the more containers you have, the more precisely you can carry things.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Language is a tool for experiencing the world. The more language you have, the more of the world you can experience.
So learning English isn't just learning words.
It's gaining access to an entire world of experiences that are stored in that language.
Books, films, conversations, ideas, jokes, feelings that have English words.
A whole universe of human experience that you get to enter.
When you put it like that, learning English sounds like the best thing anyone could do.
Ha! I think it genuinely is one of the most expansive things you can give yourself.
Okay, I'm newly motivated.
Good. Hold on to that feeling.
I'm keeping it. Practical tools.
Okay, let's get really practical. Like specific things, not concepts, actual things you can do.
Yes, please, give me the list.
Okay, number one, phone in English,
Change everything to English.
not just the language setting. Actively use it in English. When you search something, search in English. When you type a note, type it in English. When you set a reminder, say it in English. Your phone is with you all day. Make it your language partner.
Constant low-level English exposure.
All day, every day, without sitting down to study.
Okay, 2.
Talk to your food.
Ha, what?
I'm serious. When you cook, or eat, or walk past food in a store, name it, out loud or in your head. That's a tomato. Those are onions. This smells like garlic. I need some olive oil running food commentary.
That's funny, but I can see it working.
It works because it's connected to a real sensory experience. You see the thing. You feel or smell or taste the thing. And you attach the English word, deep storage. The word is attached to an actual sensory memory,
Not just a list entry.
not just a list entry. 3, speak before you're ready.
Oh, that one's scary.
I know. But here's the thing. You're never fully ready. There is no ready. If you wait until you're ready, you'll wait forever.
So you just start.
You start imperfect. You start uncomfortable. You start before you have all the words. And the act of starting teaches you more than any preparation ever could.
Because you encounter the real gaps.
You encounter the real gaps in real time, and then you fill them.
And then you go home and look up the words you couldn't find.
And the next time you need them, they're ready because they came from a real need.
Not a practice need, a real need.
4, shadow English content.
The mouth training.
The mouth training. Repeat what you hear immediately. Same rhythm, same tone, same pauses. Train your mouth to move in English.
Because speaking is physical.
Very physical. Your lips, your tongue, your jaw, your breath. They need to learn English the way a musician learns an instrument. Muscle memory.
Okay, 5.
Write a tiny diary, like 3 sentences a day. In English. What happened today? How you felt? One thing you're thinking about. 3 sentences. That's it.
3 sentences.
3 sentences is nothing. It takes 2 minutes. But over time, it builds incredible fluency in written English. And that feeds back into spoken English.
Because the thinking you do to write those 3 sentences,
Trains the same pathways.
same pathways. So writing helps speaking.
Writing helps speaking a lot, especially for people who are more introverted or who need to think before they talk.
What's 6?
Listen more than you speak.
That seems counterintuitive.
I know. But listening is input, and speaking is output, and you can't have good output without enough input.
You need to fill the tank first.
Fill the tank, and not passive listening, active listening, where you're noticing patterns, noticing words, noticing how ideas connect.
Like you said before, hearing versus listening.
Hearing is the ears working, listening is the brain working.
And the brain work is what counts.
What counts is what lands, and what lands is what you were actively listening for.
So the next time I put on a podcast or a show in English,
Actually listen. Be there. Be curious. Ask yourself, how did they phrase that? What word did they choose? Why did that sentence land the way it did?
notice the craft of the language.
Notice the craft, because English is incredibly crafted. The way native speakers build sentences, the rhythm, the word choices. It's like music.
And if you listen for the music, you start to hear it.
And then it starts to play in you,
And then it comes out of you.
naturally, without forcing.
Okay, I love all of these. These all feel doable.
That's the other thing. They have to feel doable. Not like massive commitments. Small things, consistent things.
Consistent beats intense.
Consistent beats, intense every single time. 15 minutes a day for a year beats 10 hours once a month.
Because your brain needs repetition, not volume.
Repetition over time, that's how things become automatic.
Okay. Phone in English, food commentary, speak before you're ready, shadow content, tiny diary, listen actively. What else?
Forgive yourself.
Ha!
I mean it. Forgive yourself for the mistakes, for the bad days, for the frozen moments, for the wrong idioms, for the cows that should have been horses,
For the very big cows.
for the very big cows. Every mistake is data. Every stumble is useful. Every awkward silence taught you something about yourself. And you're allowed to find it funny instead of mortifying.
When did you start finding your mistakes funny instead of mortifying?
Slowly. When I realized that the people who seemed the most comfortable in a language were not the ones who made no mistakes. They were the ones who laughed at their mistakes.
Roll with it.
Roll with it. Commit to the cow.
Commit to the cow. I want that on a t-shirt now.
Ha! Put it on the pillow too.
Commit to the cow. Curiosity beats fear. Every day a little.
The complete collection. The accent deep dive. Okay, I want to revisit accent because I feel like we touched on it, but I didn't say everything I wanted to say.
Go ahead.
I think accent shame is one of the biggest invisible barriers in language learning. And nobody talks about it openly enough.
Because people are embarrassed to admit they're embarrassed.
Exactly. Like you'd never say in a classroom, I don't speak because I'm ashamed of how I sound. You just go quiet and people think you're shy
Or not interested.
or not interested. But really inside you're thinking, if I open my mouth, they'll hear my accent and judge me.
And some people do judge.
Some people do. I won't pretend they don't. But I think most people are far more focused on what you're saying than how you're saying it.
Communication over performance.
Exactly. And actually, I've had conversations with native English speakers who told me they love hearing accents because accents are interesting. They tell a story.
Your voice has geography.
Your voice has geography. That's beautiful. Like when you hear someone speak and you can hear their home country in their voice. That's real. That's human. That's identity.
It's not a flaw, it's a fingerprint.
A voice fingerprint. And no one has your exact one
Not even another person from your country who also speaks English.
because your English was shaped by your specific experience. Your teachers, your movies, your friends, your timeline, your particular brain.
That combination exists once, in you.
Only in you. And that's extraordinary if you think about it.
I never thought about my accent as unique. I always thought of it as wrong.
Wrong compared to what? Who decided what correct English sounds like?
Historically, Britain.
Ha! And then America said, no, actually, us.
And then Australia said, excuse me.
And then India said, we have 1 billion speakers. Would you like to reconsider?
Ha! And the answer is there is no single correct English.
There are Englishes, plural, hundreds of them, each shaped by a different culture and history and geography.
And yours is one of them.
Yours is one of them. Valid, real, expressive, yours.
Okay, I feel better about my accent.
Good. Never apologize for it,
Never apologize.
unless you genuinely think you're being unclear. In which case, just slow down and repeat, but never apologize for the music.
For the music, I like that. The rhythm of English. Actually, that makes me think about something. The rhythm of English, because I feel like even when I know all the words, the rhythm sounds off sometimes.
Oh, yes, this is huge, actually.
Like I know what to say, but somehow it still sounds like a non-native speaker. And I can hear it, even if my vocabulary is right.
Rhythm is a massive part of sounding natural, and it's one of the last things people learn because you can't learn it from a textbook. You have to feel it.
How do you feel it?
Music. Seriously. Listen to English songs, not for the vocabulary, for the rhythm, the way syllables hit, the way phrases flow, the natural speed, the pauses.
Songs are rhythmically perfect because they're set to a beat.
And your ear starts to absorb that beat, the natural beat of English. And then when you speak, you unconsciously follow it.
Like you've downloaded the rhythm without downloading it.
Exactly. And poetry works too, even short poems, just for the feeling of the language moving.
And stand up comedy.
Oh, yes. Stand up is incredible for this because comedians are masters of rhythm. They know exactly where to pause, where to speed up, where to slow down for effect.
The pause before the punchline.
The pause is everything in comedy. And in conversation, actually, knowing when to pause, that's real fluency.
Because most language learners rush, because they're nervous.
Rush and fill every space, no pauses, no breath, just words piling up.
And it sounds panicked even if the words are right.
But a comfortable speaker, they breathe, they pause, they let the silence work.
Silence is part of language.
Silence is part of language. The space between words matters as much as the words.
Like music, the notes and the rest.
Exactly like music. You need both.
So listen to more music, watch comedy, feel the rhythm, and let the silence be okay.
Let the silence be okay. Stop filling every pause with
Because those things come from being scared of the pause.
scared of the pause. And actually, a brief pause with confident body language
Reads as thoughtfulness.
reads as thoughtfulness, not hesitation, not failure. Just a person taking a moment to say something worth saying.
A person choosing their words.
And that's attractive. That's interesting. That's someone worth listening to.
So the pause is actually a superpower.
In the right hands, completely.
I need to practice the pause.
We all do. Most of us have never been taught that silence is allowed.
We rush to fill it.
We rush to fill it because we're scared. But the pause, it costs nothing. And it gives you everything. One more story.
I want to tell you one more story. A real one. That happened to me recently.
Yes, go.
So I was at a small get-together. Some people I knew, some I didn't. And one of the people I didn't know, she started talking to me, and she was from the UK. And her accent was very strong, proper British, and we started talking about food, which is always safe.
Food is the universal safety topic.
It really is. And somewhere in the conversation, I made a mistake. I used the wrong word. I said something like, I really enjoy eating these small balls of bread when I was talking about, I don't even remember what, bread rolls or something. And she paused and said, Do you mean rolls? And I said, Yes. Yes, rolls. And she said, I love how you describe that. Not in a mean way, in a genuinely charmed way.
Oh, that's lovely.
And then we spent like 5 minutes talking about all the different names for bread rolls in different parts of England because apparently there are dozens.
Ha! There really are.
And it became the best part of the whole conversation. My mistake opened up something really interesting.
Your limitation became a connection point.
It genuinely did. And she told me her husband is learning a new language and he's always embarrassed about mistakes. And she said she wishes he could see how charming it actually is when someone is clearly trying and getting close, even if not quite right.
How charming.
Charming, that's the word she used. And I went home thinking about that word, charming, because I have never once in my life thought of my English mistakes as charming.
But she saw them that way.
She saw them that way because she saw the effort. She saw the person trying. She saw the courage in being imperfect in a second language,
Which takes a lot more courage than being perfect in your first.
which takes so much more courage. And she recognized that.
Most people do recognize it, even if they don't say it out loud.
And the ones who don't recognize it, that's really about them, not about you.
Not about you at all.
Not about your English, not about your accent, not about your mistakes.
About their own limited world.
Their own limited world. Okay, I love that lady from the bread roll conversation.
Ha! She changed something for you.
She really did. She gave me the word charming. And now when I make a mistake, I try to think charming instead of stupid.
Charming instead of stupid. I love that.
It doesn't always work. Sometimes stupid still wins.
Ha! We're human.
We're human, but charming is gaining ground.
Charming is slowly winning.
Slowly winning. Every day, a little.
Every day, a little. Wrapping up.
Okay, I think we should bring this home. But before we do, I want to ask you one last thing.
Yeah.
Is there one thing, like if you could only say one thing to someone who is struggling with English right now, who feels stuck, Who feels like they've been trying for years and not getting anywhere? What do you say?
Hmm, that's a good question. I've been thinking about what to say, and I keep coming back to the same thing.
What is it?
You're not starting from zero. You never were.
What do you mean?
Like when people say, I'm bad at English, they mean compared to where they want to be. But they forget to look at where they started and how far they've come. Like the person who can now understand a full podcast in English used to not understand a single sentence. Like, that's enormous. But they've normalized it so much they don't see it anymore.
We normalize our progress and forget to count it.
We normalize everything. And normalization is good in some ways. It means it's become natural. But it also means you stop seeing the miracle of it.
The miracle.
Like you're sitting here understanding English words that didn't exist in your brain some years ago. You're following jokes. You're catching the emotional tone. You're understanding idioms. You're thinking in English without realizing it. That's a miracle. That's your brain doing something extraordinary.
And you're calling it not good enough.
You're calling it not good enough because you've forgotten what zero felt like.
Zero.
Go back to zero. For just a second, remember what it felt like to not understand anything. And then look at where you are now and appreciate the distance.
I actually feel emotional about that.
Because it's true. And you've been dismissing it.
I have been dismissing it.
All of us dismiss our progress. It's human. But it costs us. It costs us motivation, joy, confidence.
And when we see the progress,
We want to keep going. Because look what the going has done.
look what the going has done.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to cry a little.
Ha. That's okay.
It's fine. These are productive tears.
Ha. Productive tears.
English tears.
The most fluent kind.
Okay, for real, wrapping up.
Let's do it.
So, to everyone listening, the things we talked about today,
Stop translating. Think directly.
change your environment, make English surround you.
Convert fear into excitement.
Train your mouth, not just your brain.
Learn words from real life, from emotion, from experience.
Notice your progress, count the small wins.
Talk to yourself. Label your world. Shadow. Write.
Forgive the mistakes, laugh at the cows,
And find your people. The ones who make it feel like a conversation, not a test.
because the whole point is connection.
Connection is the whole point.
And you're already connecting, right now, in this language.
You understood every word
And your brain did it without asking for permission.
because you were too busy listening,
Too busy being curious.
too busy being human.
So here is the truth.
The truth.
You're not bad at English.
You're really not.
You're just early.
You're just early.
And every day you choose to keep going.
You get a little less early,
A little more fluent.
a little more you,
But in English.
but in English.
All right, that's us today.
Thanks for spending this time with us.
Seriously, thank you.
Take care of yourselves out there
Keep going.
every day.
A little.
A little
Bye, everyone.
bye. You just spent a long time in English, thinking in English, feeling in English, laughing in English, maybe even tearing up a little in English. And you didn't study. You didn't memorize. You didn't drill grammar. You just listened. And the language did the rest. That's the trick. That was always the trick. Now go talk to someone in English, even if it's just yourself, even if it's just 3 sentences, even if you get the idiom wrong. Go. The language is waiting for you, and it's already yours. You've just been too busy doubting it to notice. Every day, a little. That's enough. That's always been enough.